Has it happened to you where you tell your child that they can't have something that they want and they have a really big, maybe even disrespectful response? So maybe they tell you they want to stay on their device for 5 more minutes and you say, no, it's time to get off. And they have this big reaction and maybe say something like, you can't tell me what to do. And of course, your response is going to be something like, oh, yes, I can tell you what to do. And you're probably also going to add in, and you can't talk to me like that. But when you tell them that they do have to listen to you and they can't talk to you like that, things go downhill. And you know that you can't let them get away with talking to you like that or not listening to you, but whatever you're doing is making the situation worse. So what are you supposed to do instead? I will tell you that what is effective in getting them to listen and getting them to change their attitude is actually counterintuitive. Now, this video is part of a series. It's the third video in a 4-video series. And in the last video, I talked about the fact that a child saying to you, I don't have to listen to you, is a yuck behavior. It's a sign that they are on the yuck curve. And in the last video, I explained why it's important that you actually do less when your child is on the yuck curve. So you don't say to them, oh, yes, you have to listen to me. You don't say to them, you can't talk to me like that. In fact, what you should do when someone is on the yuck curve is say less. That allows them to travel the yuck curve more quickly. Their nervous system will regulate more quickly, and they will actually return to more positive behavior, mood, or attitude more quickly. It's when you say less. Now, when I first bring this concept up with most parents, they have a lot of worries about it. And I'm going to address 2 of the main worries I hear over and over. The first, most obviously, is parents say, well, if I do less or say less, then I'm letting my child get away with it. I'm letting them think that this behavior is okay. This is actually not the case. Letting them get away with it would mean you would never address this behavior. You should absolutely address this behavior, which is unacceptable. You just do it later. You do it outside of the moment. And here's the thing. When you talk to them about it later, you have more influence. When you try to talk to someone when they are in this place of yuck or frustration or disappointment, whatever the yuck is, you don't have very much influence. In that moment, they are in fight or flight, and our fight or flight response is wired to not be influenced by other people. Think about it. If we're actually in danger, someone's chasing us down a dark alleyway, we're not supposed to be able to be influenced by the other person. So when your child is in fight or flight because you told them they couldn't have something, you are not going to be able to influence them. So you bring it up later. And so you might wonder, well, how would I bring this up later? You might say something like this. You might just say, hey, remember when I told you couldn't have 10 more minutes on the game? I know you were really mad because you were in the middle of something and you really wanted to keep playing. Since we can't talk to each other like that in this house, I want to show you how to do something different when you're really mad or upset. So you start to teach them how to do something different, but you do this outside of the moment. So you're not letting them get away with anything in the moment. You're just actually helping them get to a re-regulated state in the moment. And then you have more influence to change their behavior when you bring it up later. So the first thing you may worry about if you're doing less or saying less is that you're letting your child get away with something. And as you can hear, you're not letting them get away with anything. The second thing you may worry about is, well, what about when they get in the real world? They may have a boss who's really harsh. And if we're not preparing them for that, they won't be able to deal with this boss who is very harsh. And I want to tell you that that's not exactly the way things work. We don't need to be harsh now because they may have a harsh boss or teacher later. In fact, what's really important to understand is, let's say they do, and very likely will, have a boss that is harsh on them. Well, what really happens is if an adult is confronted with a harsh boss and they've also had a harsh parent, when they're around their boss, they actually get triggered more easily. It reminds them of all the things that frustrated them when they dealt with this harsh parent. So being harsh to them as a child is not actually going to help them deal with a harsh boss later. What is going to help them is when we actually do less in the moment when a child is really upset. Because when they're upset, they're in this place of discomfort. And when we just let them release that discomfort, they start to recognize they can handle discomfort. A big part of raising resilient kids, which is what I teach parents how to become leader parents who raise resilient kids. And a big part of this is teaching them how to handle discomfort. So we told them they couldn't have 10 more minutes on their video. That's uncomfortable. And when we let them have this feeling and let them let this feeling pass, eventually they learn they can handle uncomfortable feelings. Now, when we also teach them strategies to handle those uncomfortable feelings, now not only can they handle the discomfort, but they also know what to do in that moment when they are uncomfortable. Then, if we fast forward to them being in front of a harsh boss, now, if they feel uncomfortable because their boss is harsh, they know how to deal with this feeling and they know what to do for themselves because we've taught them. So again, we want to teach kids that they can be uncomfortable, and we don't need to add more discomfort to their uncomfortable feelings, because then they would start to fear discomfort and get triggered by it more. That's when they're going to get more triggered by a harsh boss. Instead, we teach them how to be uncomfortable. We teach them strategies to handle their discomfort more effectively. And then when they do have this boss that is tough on them, they know exactly what to do. So not getting sucked in, meaning not saying anything when your child is having a big reaction, is not the same thing as being nice or being permissive. It is about letting them experience discomfort in the moment and later teaching them the strategies so that they don't act out when they are uncomfortable. But we do that outside of the moment. Now, if you want to see what this really looks like in action, in the next video, I'm going to dissect a script so you can see what this looks like and even how you would respond to your child's negative remarks. So when you're ready, go ahead and head on over. I will see you there.